Hello, in this tutorial I'll be teaching you full PLL. What is PLL? PLL is the fourth and final step of the Friedrich method. In this step you move around the pieces on the last layer to their solved positions. There are 21 PLLs, each one is named after a letter. I'll give you a demonstration of how PLL works. So after the previous step, which is orientation, you now have a cube that'll look something like this. You will have the last layer, one solid color, and these pieces on the top will also be scrambled. So what you do in PLL is adjust the up face until you align as many pieces as you can, and then you determine which case you have and perform the necessary algorithm. So for this one, I would do something like this. That solves it. Before you learn the full PLL, you should learn what is called the two-look PLL. This technique allows you to solve any PLL case in 2 steps. Two-look PLL is slower than the full PLL, however you only need to memorize 6 algorithms as opposed to 21. I'll give you an example here. So here we have a PLL. Now what you would do in the two-look PLL is look for headlights, which are just 2 matching colors on the corners. So I have these 2 red here. So you find the headlights, put them in the back, and then you would apply a corner cycle, which looks like this. Then you would do the edges. So I look at the case, and I do this one. So here's the same case. So I just showed you how I would solve this with the two-look PLL. Now if you were to learn the full PLL, you would just use one algorithm. That would solve it. So in this video, I'll be discussing all 21 PLLs, their algorithms, and tips for recognizing them. So this will be a long video, so sit tight and get comfy. The first 4 PLLs I will be talking about deal with the edges only. This first PLL is called the U-perm. It is also often called the 3-edge cycle. There's a clockwise one and a counterclockwise one. This is the clockwise one because it swaps these 3 edges clockwise. So this is the UA, and I distinguish it because it has a solved face, and every other face has headlights. So this is the clockwise edge cycle, and I recognize it because on the right side you're going to have headlights and the middle edge will be an opposite color, because this blue edge needs to go here. So I recognize it like that, hold it like this, and perform the algorithm. This is the UB. It's just the UA but the inverse. And it looks the same, you still got the solved face and the headlights everywhere. The only thing different is that you're swapping the edges counterclockwise. And the way I recognize it is with the solved face, and if you look on the right, here we actually have an adjacent edge in the middle as opposed to an opposite edge. So the opposite edge is now on the left. So that's how you tell the UA apart from the UB. So then you can just apply the algorithm. Alright, this is the H-perm. It looks somewhat similar to the U-perms, but it's a bit different. There is no solved face this time. There is just headlights everywhere. And each face will have headlights with an opposite edge in the middle. The H-perm swaps 2 opposite edges here and 2 opposite edges here. So you can hold it any way you like, and the algorithm is This is the Z-perm. It looks like this. It's very similar to the H-perm, except instead of having opposite edges in the middle, you're going to have adjacent edges in the middle. It swaps these adjacent edges and these adjacent edges. So you can hold it like this or like this, as long as you have one of the edges going to the right. So the algorithm for this is These next 3 PLLs I'll be talking about deal with the corners only. This is the A-perm. It is also sometimes called the 3-corner cycle, and there is a clockwise one and its inverse, the counterclockwise one. So this is the A-perm, and it swaps these 3 corners clockwise. And the way I recognize it is it will always have this 1x2 block here. So as you can see, we got red, red, and then blue, blue. and these outer corner pieces will always be the same color. So we got orange and orange. And now to distinguish this from its inverse, you just look for headlights. So this is not headlights, this is headlights. So if you have the headlights in the back, like this, then you have the A perm, and then you can apply the algorithm. This is the AB, also sometimes called the counterclockwise corner cycle. It looks very similar to the clockwise corner cycle. You still have the 1x2 block here and the matching corners on the outside. The only thing different is that the headlights, which were once in the back, are now on the right. So you hold it the same way, and the algorithm is This is the last PLL that moves only the corners. This is the E permutation, and this one is extremely hard to distinguish from the others. The only tips I can give you is that it has every edge solved. So you see red solved, green, orange, blue, everything's solved, and the corners are just moving opposite, like that. So you have to look for which way the corners are going. So first you get all the edges done, and then you look, green needs to go here, blue needs to go here, and then that's how you hold it. Then the algorithm is the remaining 14 PLLs move both corners and edges. This is the T permutation. It swaps two opposite edges and two opposite corners. This one is extremely easy to recognize because it will have headlights with an opposite edge in the middle. In addition to that, it is also connected by two 1x2 blocks. So we got red, then two green, and now we have red and two blue. So it's extremely easy to recognize, and you hold it like this, and the algorithm This is the F permutation. It swaps these opposite edges and these opposite corners. Like the T perm, this is also really easy to recognize because it will have a solved face, and opposite to the edge on the solved face will also be solved. So orange is solved here, and then we have a solved face. So you're going to hold it with the solved face on the left, and the algorithm is I find it easy to memorize the F perm because it's these three simple moves, followed by most of the T perm, and then it just slightly adjusts the ending to this. So the F perm is very easy to memorize if you already know the T perm. This is the J perm, and it swaps these adjacent edges and these opposite corners. This is the JA, and it's easy to recognize because it has a solved face, a green 1x2 block here, and in the back there will not be a 1x2 block. So you hold it like this with the solved face on the left, and the algorithm is the inverse of the JA is the JB. And this is another J perm. It's very similar. You still have the solved face, 1x2 block in the back. The only difference is you're swapping these adjacent edges and these opposite corners. And this is also an easy algorithm to memorize if you know the T perm. To help you in memorization, just think of it this way. It's the T perm with the last four moves instead performed at the beginning. So the last four moves of the T perm, and then the T perm. This is the Y permutation. It's also easy to recognize. It swaps these diagonal corners and these adjacent edges. To recognize the Y permutation, just look for the one lone corner. As you can see, we have a 1x2 block here, a 1x2 block here, and this corner which is like stuck between them. So So you hold it like this with the corner on the top right, and it's an easy way to remember the Y permutation is to just divide it into two segments, which are both OLLs. So you do the first part, which is an OLL. As you can see, we still have the F2L solved, and we have this on top. Then you do the second half, which is also an OLL. This is the R perm. It swaps these adjacent edges and these opposite corners in the back. And to distinguish this R perm with its inverse, you just need to look where the 1x2 block is. On the RA perm, the 1x2 block will be on the right, and on the RB perm, it will be on the left. So for the RA perm, I actually hold it with these two headlights on the left, and then perform the algorithm. This is the inverse of the RA, the RB. This one's very similar. You have the headlights, except the only difference here is the 1x2 block is now on the left. And different to the RA, you actually hold this one with the headlights facing you as opposed to the headlights on the left. So have the headlights facing you and then perform it. This is the V permutation. This one's very unique. It swaps these adjacent edges and these diagonal corners. It looks very, very similar to the A perms, so watch out for this one. But I'll give you some tips to help distinguish it. So, like the A perm, it will have a 2x1 block. So we have red and green. But the only difference here is that these stickers on the outside are actually different. On the A perms, you'll always have orange with orange or blue with blue or whatever, but on the V perm, these stickers will be different. In addition to that, there are no headlights. So for the V perm, you hold the 1x2 block in the bottom left, and do it like this. Out of all the PLLs, the V perm probably has the hardest to remember algorithm, so the only advice I can give you is to just practice and practice until it becomes muscle memory. These next four PLLs are called the G perms, and they swap 3 corners and 3 edges. They're very, very difficult to recognize, but there is a simple trick to help aid that. I'll show you them. There are 4 G permutations, and when drawn on a diagram, they're extremely hard to recognize. But there are simple tricks that'll help you with this. All 4 of the G perms are similar because they both have headlights and a 1x2 block. So to set up a G perm, you look for the 1x2 block and the headlights, and you're going to align the 1x2 block. Some people make the mistake of aligning the headlights like this, see reds with red, but that's incorrect. You want to align the 1x2 block. And now, once you have the 1x2 block aligned, you simply put the headlights on the left and look at the position of the 1x2 block. In this case, it's in the front here, but it could also be here, here, or in the back. So in this case, we have it here, and this is the GA, and it looks like this. This is the GB, and here we have the 1x2 block up here. So, like with all the G perms, you hold the headlights on the left, and the algorithm is this is the GC. Here we have the headlights on the left as usual, and the 1x2 block is in the back. So hold it like this, the algorithm is this is the final G perm. Here we just have the 1 by 2 block here. And the algorithm is the final two PLLs are usually learned last because they rarely ever come up during a solve. So this is the N perm, specifically the NA. Here we have two diagonal corners that need to be switched and two opposite edges that need to be switched. You're going to hold it like this, and the algorithm is an easy way to memorize the N perm is to just think of it this way. You're going to do these simple moves, and now from here you're going to do the J perm. That is the JB perm, that is. And then from here you're just going to do F, U prime, F prime. That solves it. And here we have the final PLL, the NB. Here we're switching these two diagonal corners and these two opposite edges. So you're going to hold it the same way, and the algorithm is People often complain that the N perms are very hard to memorize, but for this one it's actually quite easy. All you need to think of is it like this. You do R prime U, L prime, U2, R U prime L. So you think of that one trigger, and then you just repeat it. R prime U, L prime, U2, R U prime L. And then, so you've done it twice, and then you just finish with a U. That solves the N perm. So there you have it, all 21 PLLs. If you can memorize all of them, your solves will end up something like this. Keep in mind that these are only the 21 algorithms that I'm comfortable with using. There are many more algorithms out there that might be faster for you. So you should look on the internet and look around and find an algorithm that suits the case and see if it's more comfortable for you. So if you have a better algorithm, just put it in the comments below, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be better than the ones I'm using. So thanks for watching. See ya.